Well, the Balkans are a beautiful place. I can't say it enough. Exercise Strong Balkan sees NATO Special Operation Forces train together. Now, this is in Albania at the Phoenix Rapport. Special Operations Forces from 7 NATO allies recently took part in Exercise Strong Balkan 23. Exercise Strong Balkan 23 was held in Albania, which is such a beautiful country, just astoundingly beautiful. It featured Special Operation Forces, SOF, from 7 NATO allies, including Albania, Bulgaria, Greece, Montenegro, North Macedonia, Romania, and Türkiye, as well as observers from NATO partner Bosnia and Herzegovina. The exercise saw the forces train in complex scenarios such as freefall parachute jumping, fast roping from helicopters, vehicle interdiction, sniping, and building clearance, as seen here. The aim of the exercise was to further strengthen cooperation among different allied SOF, Special Operation Forces, units with regard to today's security challenges. It was the first time for Albania to host this annual exercise. And by all reports, they did an outstanding job in this beautiful country of Albania. Footage includes all these shots, and then the free fall, parachute jumping, fast roping, vehicle interdiction, sniping, and building clearance is all a part of this exercise. In the footage seen here, they're American compatriots. And coming up, we have a video of Jens Stoltenberg, the NATO general, security general, and Latvian president. They take some questions about what's going on, and everyone's fully aware that Canadian forces are running in charge of the NATO mission in Latvia, and also there's another exercise that they've been involved in, and that has to do with training the Ukrainian soldiers, and that's been extended to 2026. Getting the date right now. And there's members of 1CER, this is Canadian news, deployed to the training area to launch exercise Ascending Sapper. The goal of Ascending Sapper exercise was to train the engineering skills. Some tasks included ranges, demo ranges, minefield placement, and lifts. And Nilo Safter was another one. Light Colonel Adam Collier and Chief Warrant Officer Francis Cross delivered orders for 4 ESR prior to exercise Nilo Sapper. Saw squadrons. This exercise saw squadron conducting level 3 and level 4 engineering tasks as part of the unit's annual readiness. And here's about the boys are about to do a high-low, and hopefully he's got his earmuffs in. All right, so a bit about this training mission, Operation Unifier. Operation Unifier is the Canadian Armed Forces, CAF, military training and capacity building mission in support of the armed forces of Ukraine. It was launched in 2015 at the request of the Ukrainian government, and in 2023 was extended until March 2026. There are currently over 300 CAF members now deployed under Op Unifier, training and support roles, as well as aiding in the facilitation of military aid delivery. Since the start of Op Unifier, the CAF has trained over 39,000 Ukrainian military and security personnel in battlefield tactics and advanced military skills. As the mission progressed, much of the direct training undertaken by CAF members transitioned to members of the Armed Forces of Ukraine and the Canadian acting as advisors and mentors, as well as assisting in the development of courses. This is a very big mission. 40,000. And members of Op Unifier also played a leading role in Multinational Coordination Cell, MCC, which facilitated the coordination with the training missions of partner nations in Ukraine. This included planning, training priorities among the multinational partners such as Denmark, Lithuania, Poland, Slovakia, Sweden, and the United Kingdom, and of course the US of A. Canada was the first nation to provide full-time staff to the MCC. So aspects of the mission were temporarily paused following the February 2022 full-scale invasion of Ukraine, with a commitment to resuming training when their conditions were permitted. So this is being done now outside. So training of Ukrainian recruits has since resumed, with Canada currently supporting multiple training missions in the United Kingdom, Poland, and Latvia that teach both basic and advanced military skills to the armed forces of the Ukraine. So some of the things that they're training here: recruit training, instructing in UK-led efforts to train recruits for the armed forces of Ukraine, combat medic training, including the Polish-led combat medic training with a focus on combat survivability, armored training element, instructing tank crews on the use of detonated Leopard 2 tanks as part of the multinational effort. So these are all going on now. The big one, sapper training, engineers as a sapper, Google that one. Instructing Ukrainian sappers on basic and advanced engineering skills, including demolition and demining. Leadership training, jointly delivering junior officer leadership development training with Latvia in battle responsibilities, planning, maneuver coordination, and intelligence reconnaissance. Now, M777, maintenance training, covering maintenance aspects from field maintenance to third-line maintenance of the M777A2 howitzer artillery piece. So this is, like I said, Canada is remained committed to this. Its crucial role as part of the Security Assistance Group, SAGU. How many people are deployed? 300 people. And 180 CAF have been deployed to UK to support the training. 45 combat engineers are in Poland. 25 armored soldiers also in Poland, training Ukrainian crews. And CAF has deployed approximately 10 medical personnel to Poland to give them that operational training. So there's a lot going on with this mission. And, of course, to the backdrop of all these special forces exercises that are going on in the area, it's a completely different world from 2 years ago. The amount of it, and this is the biggest problem I have with it, is the demand on the military for civilian roles in Canada, the firefighting that happened over the summer, and also exercises that are going on, some that Canada has said they couldn't do, and real missions that Canada's in charge of. Is gone up. All of these things have gone up while actually the Liberal government is looking for savings on the military front. Well, I don't see this as a good idea. Intelligence is very expensive, and they're cutting it out to buy some products at the worst time. So this exercise is there we go. That's the Albanian flag. Beautiful flag, if you ask me. And what a beautiful country. I just can't believe what a beautiful country it is. Macedonia, north. And coming up here, we have the commander explaining what happened. And then, of course, Jens Stoltenberg, the NATO General Secretary, and the Latvian president, the question and answers. And Latvia is yet another great country. Baltic states.
Grupe speciale kanë qenë të integruar njëri me tjetrën, pra grupi ka qenë miks të përbërë nga shtete të ndryshme. Kemi parë veprime speciale nga ajri, si hedhje me parashut, freefall, veprime me helikopter fast drop, goditje objekti, veprime operacionale me sniper, shkatrime dyrësh, objektesh, edhe veprime të tjera si interdiction kundër një mjeti, apo veprime të tjera taktike speciale dhe kolektive, individuale dhe kolektive të kryer nga forcat speciale.
Thank you. We'll go to questions, starting with the Latvian radio television in the sixth row, please.
Nagel, Latvian television, thank you for taking questions, and I have a question for both. There is increasing migrant pressure on Finland's eastern border with Russia. And do you see it as another hybrid attack, similar to what we have seen in Latvia? And is there a necessity for more coordination on NATO level to address that? Thank you.
As we are following this very closely, I actually met with the Finnish defense minister briefly on the margins of the EU defense ministerial meeting in Brussels earlier this week. He shared with me his assessments, his analysis, and his concerns about the increased number of refugees, asylum seekers at the border. So this is something we monitor very closely. The alliance is vigilant. Of course, at the first responder, or the Finnish authorities are responsible for managing the situation on the border, but we need to exchange information. We need to have the best possible common situational awareness, and then to take necessary actions if needed, whether that will be as NATO or as NATO allies or in other formats. That's a bit too early to say, depending on the developments, but we are closely following the situation also along the Finnish border.
Well, thank you. Let me just add that Latvian authorities are in close coordination with the Finnish authorities, as Latvia and Finland both share border with Russia. We have also coordination and information sharing with other EU and NATO member states that are having common border with Russia and Belarus. We are prepared to implement joint decisions if we can agree on the necessity for those. There are many options, from the border closing to restricting entry of citizens, but those measures will be decided by our own competent authorities based on analysis of the situation and based on joint assessment and based also on joint decisions. I would also say that we discussed with Secretary General the overall situation in the region, not only when it comes to the purely military point of view, but also from different hybrid attacks that we have seen lately. We were discussing the need to protect critical undersea infrastructure. We still remember what happened in October in the Baltic Sea. That incident is being investigated, but we are of the same opinion that we need to be prepared to respond to all kinds of hybrid challenges that we face. When it comes to the border situation, I do believe that regional cooperation, also the EU coordination, is needed. We've discussed this also a little bit yesterday when I met with the President of the European Commission, because also the European Union is playing a role in this regard. But I think that we are of the same opinion with the Secretary General that also NATO needs to look into the matter, but at this point those decisions should be taken by the national authorities of the countries that are bordering Russia.
Questions will go to Bloomberg in the third row, please.
Natalia Drozdiak from Bloomberg. I had a question for both of you, if I may. I wanted to ask about support for Ukraine and the debate in the US Congress at the moment. What is your feeling if aid doesn't get passed for Ukraine? How dire is this for Ukraine's effort to fight back the Russians? Thank you.
Well, it is, of course, important that all allies continue to stand by the decisions we have made jointly. At the Vilnius summit, all heads of state and government, all NATO allies promised to stand by Ukraine, not only because it will be a tragedy for the Ukrainians if President Putin wins, but it will be dangerous for us. Because then the message will be that when authoritarian leaders use military force, when they violate international law, when they invade another country, they get what they want. And that will make the world more dangerous and us more vulnerable. So it is a national security interest of all NATO allies, also the United States, to prevent that from happening, to prevent President Putin from winning in Ukraine. And therefore I'm confident that the United States will continue to provide support to Ukraine. The message when I travel around in NATO capitals is that allies are ready to sustain and to step up their support. And just over the last days, we have had new announcements from, for instance, Germany made significant new announcements of increased support just a few days ago. Other allies have also announced additional support. So I'm confident that that will be the case. Lastly, let me also say that we need to realize that the situation on the battlefield is difficult. Russia doesn't plan for peace, they plan for more war. And we have also seen how Russia has tried to launch offensive operations around, for instance, Avdiivka. But the fact that the situation on the battlefield is more difficult than we hoped, that's not an argument against support. It's an argument in favor of more support to Ukraine. Because again, we cannot allow President Putin to win. Then let me also add that the Ukrainians have already made big victories. At the beginning of this war, most experts believed, and we also feared, that Ukraine would collapse in days and that Russia would control Kiev within weeks. The reality was that the opposite happened. The Ukrainians were able to push back Russian forces in the north, in the east, and in the south, and they have liberated half of the territory. So this is a big victory for Ukraine. That they have liberated so much territory. It's a big victory for Ukraine that they have been able to inflict heavy losses on the Russian invaders. And it is a big victory for Ukraine that Ukraine has prevailed as an independent sovereign nation in Europe. Russia has lost a lot. Ukraine is a strategic defeat for President Putin. He has not achieved what he wanted. So that's the background as we now continue how to provide or ensure that we continue to provide support to Ukraine.
It's almost impossible to add to what Jens just said. I think that this has been really perfect argumentation. Let me just say that, first of all, my country, Latvia, has provided military assistance to Ukraine that is worth more than 1% of GDP. And we are a small country. Of course, if we talk about millions of euros or millions of dollars, it's not a huge amount, but actually it shows the commitment that we, as the country that understands the danger of the Russian aggression, the danger of Russia not being stopped by Ukraine, in Ukraine, going further and challenging other neighboring countries. This country is currently aggressive. This country is mobilizing its economy, it's mobilizing its war machine, and I think it would be a huge mistake currently not to provide Ukraine with all kind of assistance, be it military, be it financial assistance, so that the government can function and all the services are being delivered. So I do hope that all allies, including the US and its Congress, do understand that at this point it is critical to help Ukraine in order to stop Russia and in order to actually keep the peace in Europe for years to come. There can be questions. How this assistance is spent, and those questions should be answered. But it does not change the big picture, and the big picture is that it's in the interests of Ukraine, it's in the interests of all NATO allies, including the United States, that Ukraine is successful combating the Russian Federation.
That concludes this press point. Thank you very much.
Thank you.